Hello, welcome to a PSA tutorial. This is Goto and If Statements. This tutorial has been giving me a lot of trouble because my screen recorder has not been recording the screen, but I'm going to delve right into it because there's a lot of ground to cover, as this is mostly a theory tutorial and not a tutorial where you'll get a product at the end, but one that will help you make products. We're going to be using Smash Attacks to look at some already made Goto and If statements. So open up Smash Attacks. Once it's open, go File, Open. And if you're unfamiliar with Smash Attacks and its layout or how to open files, I encourage you to watch my earlier Smash Attacks tutorials, because that will really help you get into this. We're going to be opening Mario's .pack because I already know where the Goto and If statements are, and I think they're laid out quite well for a tutorial base. So open up Mario. If you don't have it, just go download it off the internet. It shouldn't be too hard to find. Once we're in here, we're going to start just where it starts in Specials, Action 112, sorry. And I'm just going to read you what this says. But first I'll explain what the priorities are. So in coding, which is what this is, there is like closest to the wall. That means it's like the start. It kind of, everything that's farther away from the wall is controlled or relates to this single thing. So set loop infinite means that this loop's going to run an infinite amount of times as far as this point knows. So it's going to run this, all the way down for an infinite amount of times. These things don't correlate to it because they have nothing under them. They're just things. They're done. So set loop infinite if on ground, which is basically like saying, is Mario on the ground with a question mark at the end? And that's the if, is what it's asking. The answer is on ground. So is he on the ground? Yes, he's on the ground. Okay, now what does that mean? This is what this relates to. So this is the parent of this. So if you can see it really easy. It's kind of laid out nicely so that you can understand what I'm talking about. So if he's on the ground, which he is, then set his air ground, which is a variable, between two options, air or ground. So it's basically like a switch, yes or no. Right now it's on ground. So set that to ground. And in coding you're going to find a lot of redundancies, like basically right here. Is he on the ground? Yes, he's on the ground. Set air ground to on ground. And then what this does, it's kind of like a go-to to a subroutine, and we don't know what subroutines do all the way yet, but it does something that's probably related to relating to the on ground and whatnot. And then if this bit is set, which it is, then you're going to change sub-action to 1CE, which is, if you know from previous tutorials or just poking around, that's Mario's neutral special, the fireball. And 1CE is when he's on the ground. If else, which is this, is relating to which direction he is facing. So let's say he's facing the right, then if bit is set that, then he's going to be facing the right. But if he's facing, or else, if he's facing the other way, then do this. Which is basically the same thing, but he's facing the other way. And then of course end if, most likely the move ends. And now you can see that this if and else were on the same tier. And what that means is that it's like asking a question, and in the result of this answer, do this, and the else is in the result of the other answer, do that. It's a lot more efficient than going, if this, yes, then do this. If this, no, then do this. This way you can just say, if this, yes, do this, or else, do this. And you'll find that if statements and else statements are extremely closely related. Now this, if on ground, is related to this else because they're on the same tier. So you should already realize that this obviously means else if he's in the air. If he's not on the ground, then he's in the air. So the first thing we're going to do is set his air ground variable to in the air. This is obvious stuff. And once you understand it, I mean, that's everything. There's not a lot of learning there. This is just understanding the theory behind if and else statements. And so if he's in the air, again we have the exact same thing. facing left or right, or else facing the other way. And then down here we have the end if whatever. I encourage you to edit moves and not create your own, because all codes are extremely temperamental if you don't know what you're doing. And if you're just going to be using if statements and else statements and go to, you should be editing to make things and not really making things entirely from scratch. So I hope you understand if and else statements. If is a question, else is basically the other answer to the question. We're going to move on to go to statements. And let me check my time. Okay. Go to statements. So we're going to go to I1C1 and press down on your keyboard. Then press up to go to 1C0. This is the taunt down. So the down taunt. I think that's when Mario takes off his hat and spins or whatever. Basically, if he's facing the left or right, there's actually two different sub-actions. You can't really see, my mouse is in the way. The animation is in the same animation, but it's just facing left or right. So obviously the main would be the same, but the graphics would be different. So you can see, for the original, most likely facing right, you have actual info, and on 1C1, you have go to 1C0. And if you can see, the offset right here is zeros, BE90. And if we go down to the graphics of 1C1, go to zeros, BE90. Which means that we're actually, it's just running this, and the first thing, and the only thing, is go to. So that thing makes us pop up to here, and then we just run this. So it's actually the same thing, but because of the brevity, we save a lot of data, which can make us, over the course of an entire character, is a lot of data. And that can give more power to the game running engine and make the game run smoother. Also, it's less work for the coders. So a lot of times you'll find go-to statements used for duplicate data or repetitive tasks. For instance, if you wanted to make a move where Mario shoots a fireball, shoots a fireball, shoots a fireball, like 3 fireballs in one attack, you would just go to 1CE, which is of course a special end like we talked about, and at the very end you could just add go to offset zeros C320, and then it would just keep looping and looping and looping and looping. Of course you'd have to also do it for main. Really, you'd only have to do it for main because that's when it generates the article if you want just fireballs to come out. But remember that by putting that, it's going to loop forever, right? Until something happens to you that ends an animation, like getting attacked or falling off an edge or something. But what you could do is obviously not have a go-to statement at the very end, and that's usually a bad idea. Unless, of course, that goes to something that doesn't end. What I mean by that is combos. And you know Marth has those sword combo things? What you could actually do is just map those to buttons. So instead of pressing the combo button and then all those directions, if you were just lazy, you could work it out so that whenever you press the combo button, it does the full combo for you. By at the end of the first part of the combo, go to the second part of the combo. At the end of the second part of the combo, go to the third part of the combo. That's basically all you need to know about go-to statements. Of course, using them in correlation, I mean, they're not entirely related, but of course, always fun to use. So at this point, I have just enough time to tell you to go to my blog and vote for the next tutorial. I'll have the poll up now. I've been really backtracked by a lot of business and stuff. Busy summer for me. And please check out the description for the link to my blog, and of course check out all the other videos I have. And I have a competition running right now, so if you have any works, please submit them to me. Go to my blog and look for the new contest for information on how to submit, what the rules are, etc. And thanks for watching this. Leave questions and comments below. I always appreciate them. Sorry if I can't reply to all of them, but I appreciate your viewership, and thanks.